Gamer's Garage.
Can't stop the train, baby. Woo!
Welcome to the 9th round of the Losers Bracket. We have some great information for you and a special guest with some interesting messages that we'd like to discuss. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest, mDaWg. Mike, if you would.
I'm from New Jersey. I play DJ Hero. I was recently in the VVV DJ Hero tournament, but unfortunately, due to a broken arm, I had to drop out.
Sorry to hear about that.
Man.
Tell us a little bit about your gaming history. Tell us about what games you used to play before you played DJ Hero.
Yeah, I'm mostly into rhythm games. I do kind of play around with shooters once in a while when I get bored. Recently, I've played Borderlands. I actually like that one a lot. I've played, Call of Duty, Gears of War, all those. But mostly, I'm into rhythm games. I was huge into In the Groove, which is a dance game kind of like Dance Dance Revolution. Mm-hmm. I actually have an In the Groove arcade machine in my garage because I used to be a Stepmania developer, and my parents and I thought it would be a good idea to invest in one of those. I'm not sure why, but we did.
We'll have to come back to that because not everybody I know has that kind of an arcade in their garage, which, by the way, I'm going to plug a television show on the History Channel, which no one would watch unless you accidentally stumbled upon it. It's called Pawn Stars. Now, you've probably seen it.
Great show.
You seen it, Ryan?
Yes, I've seen that show. Are you kidding me?
I watched that.
Amazing show.
Well, I was surprised because it's like I found it one day and I was like, nobody's going to watch this. It's got a corny name. As soon as I watched it, I was hooked. And so whenever somebody tells me now they have something old in their garage, I'm like, you know what? Hold on to that because it could be worth money one day.
It's like watching the Antiques Roadshow, Jerry. Come on.
It's got a little bit of that element to it. I agree. Well, let's get started to the news. Why don't we start out with a little bit of PAX East information? Since it looks like Boston is going to have its nerd on this weekend. Let's talk.
Well, Boston's going to have a lot of nerd on. PAX East, it's a penny arcade expo. They do have tournaments for gaming, tabletop, and PC and console. So both of those are gaming. And then they also have a handheld for your iPhones, PSPs, Nintendo DSs. They have free play areas for when you're not playing in the tournaments. But the really thing I want to talk about is they have the first 3D Battlefield Bad Company 2 tournament. And that just seems really, really interesting to me.
The way NVIDIA has built this, really makes me wonder. If I'm right, Jason, Brock and Adrenaline, our very own VVV Adrenaline, is going to be at PAX East. That's correct, right?
They're going to be playing in the Rock Band tournament while they're there. I think Brock also said that he's planning on checking out the DJ Hero tournament, even though he's only played the game about 3 times. Hopefully he should be taking a bunch of pictures for us, and we should have him up on the site next week so that people can check him out.
Hopefully he is going to, or otherwise I'm going to own him in the face.
Oh, well. And I think we should also talk about the fact that as much as all the esports fans out there know that PAX East has the GeForce LAN, they obviously are really a convention. And from what Kelly tells me, it's where people like her, gamers, go wild. Is that right, Kelly?
I don't think I go wild. I mean, not that I know of.
Kelly goes wild?
I don't know.
No, it's a great place to meet, fellow gamers and stuff like that. And yeah, people do get their nerd rage on, and what they're going to be doing is a thing called Gamers Gone Wild, and hopefully we see a lot of pictures and videos from that this weekend.
You heard of Glue Goo? They get nerd glue.
Yeah, I'm a little scared, but it was really hyped up. Actually, while we were at our Play and Trade event in Chicago this past weekend, and a few of those guys are heading out to PAX, and there are so many things that they just want to hit up, like the tournaments and also the after parties. So I'm looking forward to it.
Wait, you're going?
No, I'm looking forward to the nerd.
So getting all the feed, getting all the information.
all the documentaries.
I was about to say, take me with you. Jeez.
Yeah.
But I don't know if anybody can sneak you in, Ryan. That's. I don't think that's possible.
Well, look at it like this. The good thing about PAX East and what will get everybody sort of interested is you have this free play area that's got 400 station PCs That's where we're going to be doing most of the tournaments. You have the 300 bring your own computer areas. So any PC gamer out there that's looking to do something, this is a good place to be. So if you're into, hanging out, having a good time, and you're somewhere in the Boston area, or you just have nothing to do and you want to go to Boston, by all means, PAX East is something you want to hit up.
The bring your own consoles and PCs are just for the tournaments. The free play area obviously is provided. But make sure you also bring your controllers, everything that you need. Like, there's a list on the site of PAX East of what you need to bring for each tournament. Like, if you're bringing a PC, you need to bring a 25-foot Ethernet cord, and obviously don't bring your surge protector. They will provide one for you.
Yeah, you want to get all that information, make a long story short, just go to www.geforcelan. I'll spell that for those of you that, are like 360 Icon's ego, who I've seen his GB posts. He couldn't. Anyway, for you, Icon, it's www.geforcelan.com. And don't ever come into our forums and write that horrendous, I don't know what it's called, that's supposed to be English. Anyway, speaking of people that can't read or write, we have the MLG Combine this weekend, don't we also?
We do. It's a big week for esports, actually.
Well, for some maybe, especially for the Halo group, though. We're going to have our own BBB swarm down there, but what can we say about the Combine? I think this is going to – the only thing I've heard is Power Gaming from Europe, and everybody knows them from Europe. I think there's going to be all kinds of surprises. I think that if anybody is watching anything this weekend, they should pay attention to the Combine, because this is going to be – this is going to make heroes. This is going to break people's ego. This is going to eliminate a lot of crap of people who complain that they can't do well because all the pros are there. I think it's going to be interesting.
If you think about it, it's really going to hurt the main events by not having all the amateur teams being there, because if they can't win at the Combine, there's absolutely no way they're going to go to the main event, or their parents will let them go to the main event.
I don't know. I think it's really put up or shut up time for a lot of these teams. They've been wanting a chance to shine, and now they have it. Once we see the results from this weekend, we'll have some really interesting things to talk about. So next week, definitely tune in. Maybe we can chat a little bit about what happened.
For those of you that haven't heard, if you're living in a box somewhere and you just listen to the show, this is good for you, Ryan, I guess. MLG announced that they're going to actually make a pro circuit stop in Raleigh, North Carolina, as well as Dallas.
Oh, you don't know how excited I am about Raleigh. Like, it's about time. They went to Charlotte. That's an up-and-coming city, but Raleigh's been here for a while.
What is that supposed to mean? You trying to say that Raleigh's bigger?
I think Raleigh's better. I don't want to say bigger.
Ooh. Well, I will say that I'm excited because it gives me an excuse to go visit Mr. Ryan and Mrs. Kelly here up in North Carolina. I think it's a good place for a stop. It's, central place on the East Coast, and hopefully there'll be good attendance.
It was probably either choosing that or Atlanta, and Atlanta's crowded and crazy. Raleigh's is just it's not as trafficy, I would say.
There is Atlanta, but there's not that much around it. I mean, look at it like this. When they choose a place like, Meadowlands, or they choose a place like Washington, D.C., those are smart choices because there's all kinds of cities up and down the East Coast that can hit it. Kind of the same thing with Raleigh, but if you get farther south, if you go into South Carolina or into Georgia, now it's starting to become a little bit less accessible by vehicle, a little bit more travel costs for a lot of players. I think they chose wisely. What is yet to be seen is, does dividing it up really make sense the way Jason was alluding, with the Combine and Ryan was alluding with the Combine and the pro circuit events being once every month. But I think they're going to draw a very different crowd, to be honest.
Well, with all the fighters.
Yeah, we got the fighters, we got, don't forget we'll have the EA Sports Challenge, and then whatever this PC Revolution is going to be in Columbus.
Well, I think their main spectators are going to be a lot of the fighters. If that follows up from like what I saw at Devastation, Evo, and all the other fighting lane events, like that's just a really close-knit community that loves to watch the game that they play. And I think that might really, really help MLG.
I don't know. It could also backfire because I'll tell you what, you look at an event like Devastation, especially, they have something to do when they're eliminated. If you're at an MLG event, especially if you're a poor 90-year-old grandmother who's brought her grandson to come play, those MLG refs will yank the chair out from underneath that old lady, and when she hits the ground, they have 5 security guards that, tell her that she can't sit on the floor. So the way I see it, right, this could backfire because a bunch of those fighters are used to having an event where, people actually cater to you, they care about you. If they don't have their act together, it could backfire and people say, you know what? MLG is just a crappy event.
Well, maybe MLG has finally come to their senses and will allow chairs and benches besides the Halo area.
You're funny.
That was like being VV Rapture, who went in the shout box today. Go, MLG sucks. They messed up the brawl settings, and everybody else was like, "Hello, they're Major League Gaming. What did you expect?"
Well, he was complaining about the use of Meta Knight or whatever, and I'm not even going to go into that because it's a whole another show.
Yeah,
I could go on for hours.
We'll have to bring him in and talk about. All right, so we don't go too long. Let's talk a little bit about some new games that have a competitive edge to them that are coming out. Ruse, for those of you that don't know, Ubisoft has released the beta, which you can get for free on Steam. So as long as you have a Steam account, I highly recommend it. It's free to play now. It releases in June. It's kind of an RTS with one very, very amazing twist. That is, you get to use these ruses, they're called, the name of the game. And basically, it can make units appear like different units. It can hide units. It can hide buildings. It's definitely a twist. It's set in World War II. So you can play the Germans, the Americans, the British, the French, the Italians, or the Russians. So kind of like the European theater. In my opinion, it's a little bit of a twist, but it's highly addictive. Some really cool units. Each nation's armies has some strengths and weaknesses, so I recommend Ruse. Another game that's out that we should probably hit on, you can pre-order it now, and if you pre-order it, it's only like $13.99 on Steam. It's not very expensive. It's made by a German developer, and it's kind of a third-person shooter meets a mini MMO, kind of like in the Borderlands area. It's kind of like that, except it's completely multiplayer. Whereas Borderlands, you've got a campaign. Lead and Gold really is about 8v8 multiplayer, and it's very much third person. And you basically have these four classes: a gunslinger, a trapper, a deputy, and an engineer. And these four different kind of classes have strengths and weaknesses. And they also give off auras. And if these auras overlap, you end up buffing. For those of you that are MMO fans or players, you'll know what I'm talking about. You end up buffing your team. So in this sort of like third-person shooter style, you have a lot of these MMO elements in. Two really good games to look at. I've played them both. I recommend them both. Ruse, Lead and Gold, both available on Steam. Ruse is free and will be free for a while. Lead and Gold, you can pre-order it. I think it's like $1 off. It's only like $14, $13.99 or something like that. And if you do, you get instant access to the beta, so you'll be able to play the game right away.
I don't know. Letting Gold reminds me a little bit more of a Grand Theft Auto 4 type scheme almost.
That's an interesting thought. I mean, it feels differently to me, but I suppose that's true.
Well, when you look at Grand Theft Auto, if Grand Theft Auto was on PC, I think that's pretty much how it would move and feel. But we're used to playing it on console, where it's obviously a different feel.
And just to say, Lead and Gold will be downloadable for 360 and PlayStation in the future. So if you like that whole Wild West kind of feel, you like MMOs, you like shooters, this might be a game that you want to check out. I definitely love the screenshots that I've seen. I'm going to be downloading it very soon so I can check it out.
And again, at $14, you can't go wrong. We brought mDaWg on tonight because he was playing in the DJ Hero tournament, obviously, and then he was doing what many people do when they're not in a tournament, leveling up, looking at leaderboards. And Mike can tell us what he did, as we call it, Mike's side of the story, and then we'll listen to the responses he got. To give a little bit of preface here, this involves someone who clearly believes they're famous, and when somebody thinks they're famous, I think we should talk about them. So if anybody wants to be talked about on this podcast, just tell me you're famous, tell me you're important, and I will talk about you. Mike, go ahead. We'll give you the floor now and tell us a little bit about what happened on the said day.
Well, I woke up in the morning, and the new DLC had come out for, as you all know, it was Eminem downloadable content that just came out for DJ Hero. Downloaded it. Played it, and as soon as I was done, checked out the leaderboards to see what kind of scores everyone else was getting compared to myself. And I saw that Prodigy actually had a pretty close score by about 100,000, if you want to call that close. And I decided to message him and say, hey, what's up? Nice score. You might want to try a little bit harder, though, as I've done in the past with a couple of other good players, including Master Baller. I've sent one to Anubis. I've sent competitive messages to quite a few people. Instead of a friendly response, I get something like, so are you going to PAX East? And I said, not that I know of. I don't really even know much about it. And he responds saying, too bad because I'm taking the gold. And I'm like, okay. So then he started to flip out on me about how leaderboards are irrelevant and it doesn't mean anything and they're not important. And then he went on.
Can I interrupt you real quick if you don't mind, Mike?
Absolutely.
This is a message to anybody out there because I wanted to break this down one at a time and then we're going to play the messages, okay, so that you guys know what he's talking about. But if anybody ever tells somebody else that something didn't matter, you're an idiot. So, Prodigy, if you hear me, mistake number one, you're a moron. You know what I do when somebody bothers me? I ignore them. That's the best way to tell them you don't care. But when you tell somebody that you don't care about something, you're either bored, got a lot of extra time in your hand, or maybe the lady doth protest a bit too much, and you do care. Why don't we cue up those messages, Ryan, and hear it from the great Prodigy himself?
All right, let's start this.
You're simply bashing me because I actually did a whole 7-8 hour world record, and you're gonna see some shit like that. Like I said, I don't give a fuck. You're just being a fucking dick for no reason, and you're fucking hating. That's all it is. But who's getting mad here? I'm just letting you know the truth, and you're bitching about it. Like I said, who gives a shit? You're better than DJ Hero because no one cares. You get out there, no one gives a shit about you. That's end of story, and that's fucking real talk. So take it. Me, on the other hand, I have connections. I do my thing. I train and practice and get the fuck out there. Obviously, you don't because you're messaging me, getting all high and mighty because you've taken more leaderboards. Who gives a flying fuck? The best thing about it is because I'm live streaming right now. You didn't even realize that. So whatever you're saying, it doesn't make any sense. How am I making fun of my own self? You're an idiot. Listen, I'll tell you what. You come to PAX East. You beat me on Friday. If that's what the fuck you want to get all glorified for, then I'm going to continue doing my thing. You go back home to your fucking New Jersey little shithole, and you do your thing. No, I get shit like this every fucking day. If I tend to pass over someone, they're going to mess me saying they're fucking better than me. I personally don't give a shit. If you want to take the fucking leaderboards, do so. Don't fucking message me about it. In my eyes, I personally don't give a shit. You do what you need to do. If you win, you fucking win. Big fucking deal. In my world, I fucking do my own shit in the gaming industry. So if you want to talk shit about that, then I'm going to fucking reflect that on you. Like I said, I've never talked shit about your skills, but you're reflecting towards me on some dumb shit. You do your day job, I'll do my gaming. That's just how it works. That's good shit for you, but good shit for me as well. It's probably unfortunate for you that you can't play every day, but it's fortunate for me that I can. So any shit like that, when you see some shit like that to me, it doesn't even matter. Like it's irrelevant. I don't give a shit.
Was that the last of it? That was the last of it, wasn't it? All right, so let's break that down for a second. Well, Kelly, what do you think?
I just think that was like over the top dramatic, like telling him that he's not good unless he goes to tournaments, blah, blah, blah. But if he went to the tournament, like let's say he did, obviously Rob would have got shit on. But I think it was really dramatic, like what he was saying. Everything he was saying was very dramatic and very, like, he was taking it really to the heart when mDaWg wasn't. So I think it's just very awkward.
Here's the best part. Here's the best part of this. Did you hear how condescending he was towards the end of that?
Yeah, like I take it back. I wasn't dogging on your skills, but I mean, like.
But he actually did.
You know, you go do your day job. I'll do my gaming. That's good for you, but it's good for me. And you must kind of hate that you can't do what I do, play games every day. I'm so awesome.
You know what's interesting about what Prodigy did is Prodigy sort of highlights what's wrong with gaming in North America. Like, he's the poster child for you were on a season of Ultimate Gamer, and all of a sudden, instead of getting people interested or just simply saying good job, you talked about where he lives being a shithole. You talked about the fact that you gaming makes you better because you don't actually have to work. And the third thing is that woe is you, sick and tired of getting all those messages. Here's an open invitation. Prodigy, if you want to come on this show and defend your position in this, go right ahead. This is a standing invitation to you. Anytime, Prodigy, you want to be in the show. But if you think talking to people who are happy to beat you with that kind of a message and get all bent out of shape, there's nothing professional about it, you're not good for gaming, But if you think people like you, I think the only thing that they like about you is that you don't look like some stereotypical gamer, which hats off to you. Neither does Mrs. Violence. Heck, you know what? I probably really isn't a stereotypical gamer. So in a few years, outside of being somebody who was on the inaugural season of Ultimate Gamer, if you keep that attitude up, I think outside of, like hanging around with somebody with a power glove and lives in an ark, I highly doubt you're going to have much else going on.
I mean, I totally agree, Jerry. Like the same exact way. I get messages a lot all the time asking for challenges and, hey, like if you want to win, if you want to lose some, it's fine. I just went to a tournament and I was forced to lose to a 5-year-old because, yeah, I could have shit on his life, but why would I shit on a 5-year-old's life? It's not worth your time. When I lost, I didn't sit there and say, you're fucking awful, blah, 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 blah. I gave him a big hug. He's 5 years old. He's like this cute, tiny little thing you want to squeeze. Even if he wasn't 5, I wouldn't stand there and shit talk down to somebody and be all egotistical like how he reacted towards Mike right here. But I just think that was pretty bad.
Well, I mean, I think the other thing too is that I think he makes another mistake in saying that leaderboards. I mean, Mike. I mean, I would say that leaderboards are something that people use to gauge their skill. I mean, that's something you enjoy doing, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah, exactly. And I wanted to talk about that. Like we have Score Hero, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but there's also Groove Stats and DD Recall, and there's other ones out there for even other games. Groove Stats is for In the Groove, and DDR is for DDR. We have those for a reason. And back in the day when I used to play In the Groove competitively, I used to go to tournaments, and me and some of the other good players would sit down and we'd look at people's groove stats on our laptops just to see what kind of scores they have on what songs so we can decide which song we want to pick on them when we go up for our next round. And I think that's like extremely important when you get into competitive gaming.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have the attitude that if it doesn't happen on LAN, then it doesn't count. Relax. I've watched a lot of rhythm gaming and almost none of it outside of the World Series of video games back in 2007 and what I've seen at WCG. Most of everything I see has been happening online, and I still find that it's good to watch. I mean, Jason, you're a rhythm gamer.
I think that Mike was really onto something when he said the leaderboards and those websites like Score Hero, Groove Stats, that those matter because in the end, it's kind of almost about strategy. Before I would go into a match with a big-name opponent that I knew was going to be a difficult match, I would go on, check out what scores they had on the leaderboards to see what songs they were good at, what songs I would potentially be better than them at, or hop on Score Hero to see where they placed on a specific song. That way you can interpret what skills are used in a song, like let's say it was alt strumming or tapping, really fast hammer-ons in Guitar Hero, and you can kind of gauge their skill at different parts of the game, and you can make your picks against them for what songs to play better in that regard. So to say that the leaderboards don't matter, it's pretty much asinine.
Well, did you hear Prodigy's voice? That isn't exactly someone who's Harvard bound. I don't know if you noticed that, right? Let's be honest here. So, I mean, just to be clear, that's why we want to highlight this. I think you hit it. Mike said it as well. There are a lot of good uses for leaderboards. I guess this actually brings up another interesting point. It seems to me, Mike, like you send these messages out because you enjoy the competition. Is that right? So what will happen is you'll beat someone's score or you'll find yourself on top of the leaderboard and you'll send messages out to other few top ones going, hey, you guys are trying hard enough. It looks like I beat your score. Is that right?
Yeah, and I've done it to others too. Like I did it to Nightlight once. I said, hey, I beat your score on Rocket. That was a pretty big one. Of course, he didn't care, but others in the past have.
Well, let's talk a little bit about DJ Hero since you're here, Mike. Now that you're out of the tournament and you're more or less a spectator like everyone else, who do you think is going to be doing the best here? Who do you think is going to come out on top?
Honestly, I think it's probably going to be Master Baller.
What do you think makes him such a good player? Why do you think he plays better than everybody else?
We've talked about this before. I think for us, it's just a mental thing. For some people, it's whether or not they can actually hit the buttons with their fingers and do it. But for us, it seems to be just whether we can think right that day and not miss a note and read and hit every single one of them that comes up on the screen.
We are going to reserve any of our judgment as to who's going to win because obviously we're running it. From Mike, we hear putting his reputation down on Master Baller, which will be interesting to see. Which reminds me, Jason, where are we? Give everybody a little bit of an update on the DJ Hero tournament as to what's going on.
Well, by the time that you'll be hearing this podcast, guys, we'll be down to the Final Four. Make sure you check it out. We'll have some new videos up of Master Baller's journey through the tournament thus far. He's been recording all of his matches for me. Those will be on our VVV Gaming YouTube. By this time next week, we'll be down to the final match. Right now, we're pretty much at the Final Four. All the players that are remaining are going to be getting interviews for potential sponsorship by VVV. So I'm really excited to see how these last couple matches turn out. But overall, I'd say the turnout and the response to the event has been almost overwhelmingly positive.
All right, everybody. Normally, this is the part where I get into a rant, and I'm usually very angry, but this is going to be more like a slow boil. And what I want to talk about is how small esports is, and how much everybody likes to pretend that they know somebody, or they're in the know, or this Prodigy says, I've got connections. You know what, Prodigy, and anybody else who sits there and says, oh, I know somebody from Red Bull, and my uncle works for so-and-so, you don't know shit. Until someone fucking hands you a check with your name on it, you're not anything. And winning one event or being in one contest, that's the beginning. Nowhere is it the end. And if you want people to care about what you accomplish, you have to keep telling the story as to why it's important. Right now, winning a fucking tournament is like being the motherfucker who's put together the biggest ball of yarn in Arkansas. No one really seems to give a shit about the big ball of yarn, or who collected the most stamps, or who has the most fucking Pac-Man joysticks in their garage. No one gives a shit because there's no story around it. Now, the nice part about esports is there could be a story around it. There could be stories of people who upset other people. There could be stories of people who may have surprised their own expectation. There could be heroes and there could be kings unthroned. That's the art and drama of sports. But you know what? Sports really wouldn't be around if everybody in professional sports acted like Prodigy or other people who run around and think that they're God. It wouldn't work so well. In a matter of fact, most people would look at it more like professional, quote-unquote, wrestling. Well, most people who watch esports have a little bit higher goal for it than wrestling. They actually want the skill and the strategy and the time people dedicate to becoming good at something to mean something a little bit more. So for those of you listening, this is one of the reasons I was very happy that Gears of War was off the pro circuit. I felt relieved. Why? Because now a lot of gamers would have the chance to go out there and find the thrill of a new game, maybe with a bit more humility. And you know what? It seems to be working. I'm seeing Gears of War players pick up games that I didn't think that they would pick up. Getting interested in fighters, playing games like Lost Saga, going out there and picking up an MMO to learn about the arena, coming to PC gaming, asking about Brawl. That's good for gaming. Just like it's good for gaming when you're not at a tournament to be fucking nice to people. You know when I talk shit? It's when I'm fucking seated across from you and you're playing against me. That's when I talk shit. But once it's over, you shake hands, you smile, and you say, great game, whether you win or lose. And if you can't do that sitting at home when you're online, then you're exactly the fucking kind of nerd that rages, that pisses most everybody off, and makes most people say, this is what gaming is all about. And you know what? It takes one fucking moron to ruin it for everybody else. So if you hear my voice and you're a fucking gamer, I ask you to just shut the fuck up and chill a little bit and maybe try to have some fun instead of worried about your non-existing fucking ego. If it's not about money and your career, it's pretty fucking worthless. So why don't you lighten up and have some fun? Like I do when I have these fucking little rants. I have fun. And that's what I got for you guys this time.
I would like to say that the Losers Bracket is an awesome podcast, and I will continue to listen until y'all say that there is no more Losers Bracket. And it would be awesome to be able to talk with y'all guys in one of your episodes.
And that comes from Cody Vaughn from Dudley, North Carolina. Most of you know him as, wow, Emo Zuka.
Well, you can tell he's from North Carolina. He's saying y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Y'all.
Oh, don't you do that. All right. And we also have a giveaway, which, Mike, will let you announce our giveaway. Go ahead, Mike.
We're giving away some Blur Beta keys. The first 5 people to call us and leave a voicemail will win a Blur Beta code. Their message will also be played on next week's episode.
The things we promise people. How does that happen? All right, Mike. Well, thank you for that. I should also point out that we have an upcoming giveaways on the Gamers Garage. Comic books and stickers from the WiiWare. Rapture, stickers, if you're listening, from the WiiWare, an XBLA arcade title, Super Meat Boy, as well as some console skins from music skins such as Aqua Teen Hunger Force and Robot Chicken.
You guys know Aqua Teen Hunger Force, don't you, Dells?
That is the best impression I think I've ever heard of Meatwad. That's pretty good.
That's really, you got problems. I want to give a special thanks to the Gamers Garage for helping us put on the show. Also our sponsor, SteelSeries Control Freak, Music Skins and Custom Ink. And, as we always say, thanks to the VV community for everything they've done. Be sure to stop by over at thegamersgarage.com. You can find out all the ways on how to follow us, Facebook, MySpace, Twitter. And if you want those Blur beta keys like Mike just told you, leave us feedback by calling our voicemail at 206-350-7352 or via email at mailbag@thegamersgarage.com.
Well, we'd like to thank you guys for listening in again, as always.
Thank you so many times.
Oh, problems. Have a good week, guys.